We have some news, if you will. We saw a 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid today in Utah test allegedly a 50-inch vertical. Very impressive. Now, here's the thing. I'm a skeptic always with these claims because we've seen false claims like this for years. And the biggest reason why, but this is the most legit one that I've seen because CJ Champion, who is my athlete or is currently rehabbing his Achilles, and then Andy Nicholson went ahead and tested his reach. Now he's 5'10", and his reach was allegedly 7'7", so that means 11'9" is a 50, I think, right? 11'9" is a 50, or 11'8" is a 50.
Yeah. No. 11'9" would be a 50.
Okay, so I'm still skeptical, and the reason why is because 7'7" is a really low reach for someone that's his height at 5'10" in shoes. So for perspective, Austin is 5'9", has the stubbiest, shortest little arms, and his reach is like 6.5 or something like that, or 7'7".
Yeah.
And this kid has seemingly long arms. So I'm a little bit skeptical on that, but nonetheless, what I will do is I will be able to corroborate. Oh, here we go. So he says his standing reach is 90. What's that put him at? Is that 7'7"?
72 is 6 foot. 84 is 7. That would be 7'6". So
that would
he himself measured his reach at 7'6", and then I guess at dunk camp or at that competition they measured it at 7'7".
So there's some seemingly interesting numbers here, and I don't know, man. This is a little bit convoluted.
Yeah.
I just want to measure it. I just personally want to measure it. Hey, if he's got a 7'7" reach, then so be it. I'll it is what it is. But that would be pretty crazy. I tried sending the DM. Hopefully he'll respond back and I can get it on film. But call me a hater, call it what you will. It's more so for the competition and just knowing where it's at. I usually like to verify guys. And yeah, I mean, if that's where he's at, that's where he's at. But I would be very surprised. So what are your thoughts? Are you skeptical? Do you think his arms are longer? Like, what are your thoughts on this? Tell me if I'm being a hater.
I mean, I'm always skeptical. I'm always skeptical of reaches. I think the big thing is corroborating it with flight times. That's where you really know if someone is jumping close to that mark. We actually asked for the slow-mo video. I think somebody recorded a 240 FPS video. So I'd be curious to see what the flight time is on there. I would expect his reach to be probably closer to 7'9" just from looking at him. Like for perspective, I think Steven is 5'10" and his reach is wasn't he like 7'8" or something like that? 7'9"?
Might have been higher. Might have been 7'9", 7.
I think it was 7'9".
7'9". Yeah, that sounds right. 7'9" sounds right. 7'7"'s low. Like 7'7" is tiny.
Yeah.
Like they said his reach was the same as Fexer's.
Hiram Fex. Yeah, Fexer.
And that surprised me. Because that would mean that Hiram's short and his arms are really short. And I've tested his reach like a handful of times. And I've never tested this kid's reach. Usually when I do it, guys go up an inch or two, in my experience. And so, yeah, I mean, nonetheless, let's call it 49, even if it is 50, right? 49, 50. That's a big boy jump. And we haven't seen that in a minute. So this kid's got potential. And it's one of those things where I think people think that, not that we don't care. We do care. We take a lot of pride in that. But I think handing over the crown fairly is totally fine. It's like, it is what it is. You know what I mean? The data doesn't care. Where I sometimes struggle is that I hold you to such a ridiculous standard that sometimes that can make it, I guess, convoluted. But again, that's why if I were to see it and then I tested it, and I would be like, oh dude, this kid's just a freak.
It makes what convoluted?
It makes me conflicted.
Yeah.
Because I know the standard that I hold you to is almost beyond what I would expect from anyone else. And that is a challenging place to be if you're in your shoes, because I don't give you any like I don't give you any level of bias. I'm so much stricter on you because of our relationship and my expectation of you as an athlete.
Yeah.
And I struggle because I don't extend that expectation to other people. I mean, there are videos where I literally tell you you're a bum, you fucking suck, freaking suck. And I don't think other people could handle that. Like, you know, some of my other athletes could actually handle the sometimes it's in jest. Like it's in jest, don't get me wrong. But like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm saying that because I want you to do better. And it's like the old adage, people don't care what you know until they know how much you care. And you
Yeah.
know that I really care. That's the only reason why I'm so hard on you, is because I genuinely care. And I, you know, outside of like the gym or whatever, and outside of those periods of testing, obviously it's, you know, we enjoy our time and stuff like that. But when it comes to like other people, and then it's a challenging, like I'm conflicted because I don't hold them to the same standard that I hold you to. And maybe
Yeah.
that's frustrating for you sometimes even. I don't know. I never asked. But I definitely am very hard on you in terms of my expectations for testing,
Yeah.
data, everything else. Like I'm
It
very
is.
objective.
It does feel unfair at times because I could have been
You could
shooting
have
my
been
reach.
had a 50.
Yeah, I could have. Well, a lot of people don't know that in Dunk Camp 2020, or maybe know and forgot. In Dunk Camp 2021, I had my reach tested by
Chase.
Tyler and Chase, and I had a 52-inch vertical that camp.
And I took it away.
Yeah, I had a 52-inch vertical, but at this point, I don't even see it as a reach thing. I see it as the max touch. That's how I know if I'm getting better or not. Like,
Right.
there's gonna be discrepancies. I mean, bro, you get shorter from morning time to evening time. I mentioned before we got on the podcast, like you could stretch. There's this little when I remember when I was reading a free guide that Jump Manual came out with, and it was like, do this before you jump. And they had like stretches, and it was basically like all like lat stretches and stuff, and like some like shoulder stuff. And like I would do the stretches, and then your reach would be like a tiny bit higher, like after doing it. So there's like little things that create variance in the reach. So I see it more as like the max touch is that climbing up
Mm-hmm.
over a big span of time, or the flight times climbing up over a big.
Yeah, and for like intra rater reliability, it's really good because we know
Yeah,
where your numbers are and it's very objective. Where the difficult part comes is inter rater reliability, when you start
yeah,
looking at you compared to other people, and then it becomes this unnecessary uh, male extremity measuring contest that it doesn't need to be.
yeah.
And
That's
it's
literally
like,
what it is.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
literally just that. It's just ego and like, you know, and I mean, granted, there's opportunities associated with it, and like Donovan's, you know, obviously, you know, kind of not had as many opportunities I think as maybe he deserves. She has texted me, by the way, about this. He said somebody might have 240. I only have 120. I may have a video of the reach though. 120 is
120
still
is fine. Yeah.
send the 120 with full data on when you share it.
With all photos data on.
All photos data, yeah.
One really interesting thing that we can talk about. I'm the only person above 6 foot
Yeah.
jumping that high. Why is that the case? And then there's a video that Billy, I think he posted last year or something, and it was like top 10 highest jumpers he's filmed. Every single one of them under 6 foot. Every single one of them. Why is that, John? You know everything. Tell us.
Well, I'm trying. I mean, they're all 2-footers.
Yep.
I mean, I would assume it has to do something with the musculotendinous unit and the properties of like inherent properties of tendons and the internal moments. So if we were to look at, for example, a graph of like let's say it was an anatomical view of the knee with tendons, I don't know, present or something like that, right? And you were to look at and I'll try to pull this up real quick so you guys can see it. If you were to look at from the side of your knee bent and you look at the structures, you guys can see this now. What you'll notice is that there is the tendon, which would be essentially the force pulling on the bone. That's how you know the direction of it. And then you're able to look at the axis of rotation, which is the joint. So in this case, the femur is rotating around the tibia. So this is your axis of rotation, where that contact point is. And then obviously it's going to change as you angulate because the contact point is going to change. And then also where the patella bone is going to change as you flex the knee more or less. But nonetheless, you can still kind of get an idea of this. When you are in the very bottom of a squat, there are in your jump, interesting things happen at the tendon, interesting things happen at the muscle, and you're seeing these bones articulate with each other, and you're changing the internal moment across that joint angulation. So what I think could be potentially the cause is that there's an ideal relationship or ideal ratio of the height of your patella bone, the length of your tendons, and the distance of the moment arm as a result of that, which is a perpendicular line from the line of action to the line of action to the joint axis. So you're seeing that not only at the knee, but you're also seeing that at the Achilles, at the hip, across. I mean, there's tons of tendons that are being, tugged on when you jump. And I think it's possible that there's a relationship between those variables and the length tension relationship in the muscle, where it's more advantageous to be slightly shorter for 2-foot jumping. I don't know what that height is. Maybe it's 5'11" or 5'9" or something like that. But
Yeah.
I think maybe as you get taller, even though you get the benefit of those internal torques, what can also happen is you have to overcome your external, like you have longer limbs. So that, yes, internally you should have better advantageous leverage. But when you're looking at 2-foot jumping, and this is just a hypothesis, I don't know if this is true, maybe it's that you're deeper at the bottom of a squat, and when you're taller and deeper at the bottom of a squat, you lose tension, or the external forces you have to overcome are really high because of that, right? Like if I weigh 100 pounds and there's a giant that weighs 200 pounds, if he squats down in a half squat and I squat down in a half squat, he has to overcome a lot more force than I do. His muscles have to generate a lot more force than I do at the same range of motion. So it could be maybe something like that where, there's some sort of a relationship there. Who knows? I think that's probably my best guess would be that, because at this point there is a significant amount of data to indicate that. But
I think
who knows? I mean, we used to think that being shorter was better for being faster, and then Usain Bolt came out and ran 9:58.
Yeah.
Now being taller is better.
Yeah.
So
I think I think jumping is different though, because there's legitimate arguments for height, like stride length, and you're gonna have a bigger stride.
Well, they used to think that your stride frequency was
more
they
important.
used to think that your stride frequency would drop so much and therefore your start was worse. But now it seems like peak velo, like your top running velocity, is the bigger indicator of your success in the event. So
I think for vertical jump, there would be a direct correlation. I think up until, with how short you are and how high your vertical is, up until you get to a point where it's like a medical reason that you're short, not like you're a normal human being, I guess.
Guess who's calling me right now, bro?
Who?
Is it not
see.
focusing? Dang, it's Donovan Hawkins.
Oh.
Should I answer it?
No. I mean, we can close this out.
Yeah. Go ahead.
But real quick, I think there would be a direct correlation. I think the reason you see more of a cluster at like the 5'8" to 5'10" mark is because it's a height where you're still tall enough to play sports and do decently well in them, and you're incentivized to get more athletic. I think the meta would probably be 5'4" or 5'5", but at that point they self-select out of playing sports because they're so short at a young age.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah, because I think for example, someone like Tony, it's he might be jumping even higher if you had taken basketball completely out of the equation, if you put Tony in my shoes with zero, like literally like the type of training I did from the same age, I think he would blow everybody out of the water.
Like
um,
genetically speaking, and
yeah,
if he had the same nurture, he
yeah.
probably goes way higher. I had a
Hmm.
dream about Tony, actually. It was weird. It was about him,
Yeah.
like, basically being like, I don't even remember what the dream was about, but essentially it was along those lines. Like, if he were to just maintain that level of training for a period of time, he's gonna be able to test way
Yeah.
above. I still think, I mean, I do think his genetic milieu is better. So it's very possible that he'll go higher. Um, he's just biologically, dude. I mean, he jumped 24 feet in long jump or something like that, and then the high jump 6'9" at 5'8" or whatever. Dude, that's insane. Like,
Yeah.
that's 13 inches over your head. That would be like me high jumping. If I'm six, let's call me 6 foot for the sake of math. That's like me high jumping like 7'3" or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that's freak level of athleticism. I mean, he's head and shoulders better than me. The best I've ever done is 6 inches above my head. I can't imagine jumping 7 inches above my head. Like, he's crazy levels of athletic. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's, who knows, maybe being shorter is better, but we just haven't seen, sports. We haven't seen those individuals succeed because the sport is going to inherently select shorter or taller individuals to practice them, right? Like,
Especially dunking.
yeah, jumping is like, typically if you're talking about jumping, you're talking about reaching a really high target. Well, height is going to be more of a determinant of your success than jumping ability. Jumping ability is what closes the gap between you and the tall people. But yeah, there was also an interesting video, and we can close it out here, but about vertical not being that important for basketball specifically. And a guy made a whole video on it. It'd be interesting to do a review of it. Maybe tomorrow we can react to the video, because he talks about literally Tony, Donovan, and you. And I'm like, keep
Yeah.
THP out of your mouth.
I saw the title. I didn't watch the video. I just read the title and then read the comments, which is probably what a lot of people do with our videos, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have some thoughts. I actually kind of agree with him to a certain
Well, that's what I was
extent.
gonna say. There's certain things I agree with, but there's certain points he glanced over.
Yeah.
But
The
yeah.
stuff that I didn't agree with, like in the comment section, was people saying there's no point
Yeah,
to
I wanted to
be
be like, oh, really? Well, then how can you
yeah,
explain athleticism having like there it's still a force generating indices and a coordination indices that is
yeah.
indicative of your ability to generate a lot of force very quickly, which is
Bro,
mega important.
the
Like,
way I see it is it's the Aristotle quote. It would be a shame for a man to grow old without seeing the strength and beauty that his body is capable of. And I think I wouldn't
Mason's
be able to
calling me
live
now,
with
dude.
myself.
Everyone is calling me. This is crazy. Go ahead.
Like I wouldn't be able to live with myself if, like, let's say I'm like friggin' 70 and it was just like, why didn't I give it my best shot like at jumping higher? And it's the medium through which you decide to follow what that Aristotle quote says varies per person, right? You could try to become the best basketball player possible that you can be, or you could try to become the strongest person you could possibly be, or all around fitness. But yeah, the medium I've chosen is vertical jump. And if there's one thing, is the last thing I'm going to leave you with. My dad always told me, whatever you do, try to be the very best at it. Like, and he was like, I don't care if you become a janitor when you grow up, be the best freaking janitor in the world. Like, give it your best shot. So
My uncle gave me the exact same advice.
yeah, I've always tried to live life through that lens. And it's not even to be, I would shift it a little bit. You don't have to be the best in the world, but like be the best version of yourself at whatever
Yeah.
it is that
Like,
you're
don't leave any stones unturned,
yeah,
and literally do everything that you possibly can to be that version of yourself, because at the end
yeah,
of the day, everyone's going to get a different hand dealt to them. No one,
yep,
I'm not 6'8". I'm not going to play in the NBA because I'm not 6'8" or 6'6", right? Like,
yeah.
I don't have insane genetics to jump 50 inches, but dude, I got 40.
Dude,
That's
imagine,
great. I'm happy with that.
bro, I could technically like walk outside and get hit by a car and freaking paralyzed from waist down. Could you imagine if that happened and I had just settled for like mediocre? Like, let's say I was at
But
like 40.
you could literally just be like, oh, well, Tony and Dak have better genetics, so why am I even trying? Like, to me, that's such a whack
I could have,
ass,
bro,
like,
I could have stayed at 46, 47 and like maybe like maintain there and stuff. And like, And I would have beat myself. Like if something happened where I couldn't train my legs anymore, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like,
damn, I wish I would have like taken advantage of that opportunity and like
yep,
pushed harder, tried more, or done as much as I can. I take a lot of pride in that with my athletes, trying to just use every tool in my tool belt at my disposal to make sure that they're successful.
yeah,
And I think that it's a blessing and a curse, because it sometimes gives me a lot of anxiety and stresses me out, but at the same time, I'm able to help people more effectively. And I myself, having gone through a lot of the issues that I have, in some ways, I'm like, dude, that is a blessing, in the sense that I can now help other people who have gone through a lot of the same things. And I'm not saying you should just look at only your anecdotal evidence, but what happens a lot of the time is I'm able to test it over and over and over again, because I try to be objective with myself. And then what I'm able to do is kind of, perfect that, or kind of like tighten things up and make it better and better over time. So yeah, it is, in some, like we said, a blessing and a curse. So, but yeah, I feel like this is a good spot to close this off. Thank you guys for listening. If you haven't seen Isaiah's video, you definitely need to go watch his last dunk session, because it was absolutely bonkers. And we didn't even talk about that, really. We kind of did the other day, but yeah, we did. We talked about it the other day, but nonetheless, you guys definitely should do yourself a service and make sure that you go watch that, because it was insane. If you guys are interested in coaching, as always, go to THPstrength.com. We now have a new title. We only do Lincoln Bio Dunks. So that's my new logo. That's my new title. Lincoln Bio
Dunks. We're Lincoln Bio Dunkers.
We're Lincoln Bio Dunkers. We only dunk for other people, not for ourselves. And we only dunk for our program, not for any other reason.
No, we only dunk for views.
Oh, okay. Right.
Not for winning dunk contests.
Yeah, or like enjoyment, personal satisfaction. Got it. Anyways, we'll see you guys tomorrow.